Hello and welcome to the Everything is Black and White podcast. Andrew Musgrove here. Hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you very much for tuning in. It is fixture release day and we're coming live. It's gone 9 o'clock, so the embargo is up and we know who Newcastle United will be facing on the opening day of the Premier League season, and it is away to Aston Villa. So a tricky little trip down to Villa Park when Newcastle don't have the best of records. Of course, last time out at Villa Park, they were thumped, weren't they? And that really rattled people with the run-in for the Champions League as it was. It didn't really matter in the end, but Newcastle will certainly want to go down to Villa Park and rid themselves of what is a bad record there at Aston Villa's home ground. The first league game at home comes against Liverpool the week after, and Newcastle only face 4 of last year's top 6 up until 2026. So really a good run of games. Of course, you've got to face everybody, and the lack of games against the so-called top 6 will maybe come back to bite them later in the campaign, but they've got a good opportunity to really give themselves a solid foundation heading into 2026. But why are we talking about every other team? Because there's only one team and one fixture you guys want to know about, and that is when Newcastle United face Sunderland. The first derby game is away at the Stadium of Light, 13th of December. Then it's to St James's Park on the 21st of March. So a little bit of a wait to face Sunderland, who of course were promoted via the playoffs, beating Sheffield United back in May. Buzzing for the return of the derby games. I know not everybody is. I know people have different opinions on it. Some want Sunderland to be as far away from the Premier League as possible. But me, I like the derby games, and there is an excitement about them that I really enjoy. I like the kind of grudge match element. My good friend is a Sunderland fan, and the build-up is always fun when it comes to that game. So 13th of December, away at the Stadium of Light, 21st of March for the return fixture at St James's Park. I suspect that those dates may change when it comes to TV and what have you, but there you go. That's when the Tyne-Wear Derby is back, and I'm excited for it. I really, really am. It's been a long while since we faced them in the Premier League. Of course, we faced them in the FA Cup not so long ago and won that quite comfortably. It wasn't really a contest. Of course, these games are never about form or ability or talent, really. It's a derby match, so everything kind of goes out the window, but we know the record that Sunderland have got against Newcastle when it comes to derby days in the Premier League, and we'll want to see Newcastle United not just win one of these, but both of these, and fingers crossed they do. But I say a little bit of a wait for them. Looking at the Champions League games, now that draw, of course, is going to be made later in the summer, but I think it's quite important that we do look at when the Champions League match days are and then put them into the calendar. So you've got 8 match days in this league phase that runs from the 16th of September up until the 28th of January, and you've got 2 match days in September, 2 match days in November, 2 match days, 1 match day in December, and 2 match days in January. Now, looking at when these are, so for example, match day 1 in the Champions League is the 16th to the 18th of September. Match day 2 is the 30th of September to the 1st of October. Match day 3 is 21st, 22nd of October. Match day 4 is the 4th and 5th of November. Match day 5 is the 25th and 26th of November. Match day 6, the 9th and 10th of December. Match day 7, the 20th and 21st of January. And match day 8, the 20th of January. Now, the date that stands out there is match day 6, the 9th and 10th of December, because it means Newcastle United will play in the Champions League a few days before they face Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. So it's going to be interesting there to see how Newcastle handle the schedule. And this is what we're all focusing on when it comes to the transfer market, because we know last time out the squad really struggled because there were so many games and it wasn't the biggest of squads. It needs investment this summer to ensure that Eddie Howe can give this Champions League a real good go while also maintaining the Premier League form and hopefully going the distance in the cup competitions. But if you look at the months leading up to the end of the group phase or the end of this league phase in the Champions League, you've got 6 games in total, Premier League and Champions League in November, 7 games in December, and that's not including any obviously the Carabao Cup games that Newcastle may have to play in those months as well. So it's going to be a really, really busy schedule for Newcastle United, and this is why this summer we need to see them add at least 4, maybe 5 players to help Eddie Howe build a squad capable of competing on all 4 fronts. But looking at the fixtures, there's not a kind of month which I think you fear. I mean, December, as I've mentioned there are a lot of games in December. But in terms of a month where you face top teams in a row, I don't think there's too much to really get fearful about. I mean, December you do face Tottenham. You got the Derby game, Chelsea in that month as well. Manchester United on the 27th. So of course Newcastle United are away. But there's not a month where you go, oh dear. I mean, February you face Spurs and Man City, one after the other. But you obviously don't know what Spurs are going to be like this year around under Thomas Frank. I think looking at it, and look, I'm not one to delve too much into fixtures because you've got to play everyone twice. But I think it's quite a friendly fixture card, to be quite honest with you. In March, you've got Manchester United, Chelsea away, and Sunderland at home. So that could be a bit of a tricky month. But you look at May, Brighton, Forest, West Ham, and Fulham, and you compare that to how Newcastle United finished the season just gone, and that's a very kind May, isn't it? But again, we don't know who the surprise package is going to be. I mean, we say it could be an easy October, for example, Forest, Brighton, and Fulham. But who's to say Brighton don't have a cracking start to the season, and Newcastle United have to face a really good informed side? We just don't know. It's a flip of a coin, isn't it? So I think it's pointless worrying about a month or getting excited about a month because we don't know the forms, we don't know how Newcastle are going to do, we don't know about injuries, suspensions. You just got to get on with it. Just got to get on with it. But I think we'll be saying that relatively pleased with it. And if we want to make predictions when it comes to, let's say, the first 4 months of the Premier League campaign, I mean, you're looking probably at, what is it, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you're looking at, you would hope Newcastle United have won the majority of those games out of the first 4 months. I mean, Villa away, okay, difficult start there perhaps. Liverpool at home, obviously the best team in the Premier League. But, Newcastle have shown they can go up against Liverpool and give them a good game. Obviously, we beat them in the Carabao Cup final. Leeds away, thank goodness, is a closer away trip than what we've been used to in recent years. Wolves, Bournemouth, like I say, in those first 4 months, out of the top 6, it's only Liverpool, Arsenal, and City that Newcastle face. So, there's a potential for a really good start there. But again, I'm not going to get too excited. I've got Eric saying here, horrific start. Eric, I don't think it's that bad, to be quite honest. Villa, Liverpool, I mean, if you worry about Villa and Liverpool, okay, I understand that. But, you've got to face them sometime. I don't think it's that bad of a start. You got 3 home games in those opening 6 games, 3 away games. So it's matched there. I don't think it's that bad of a start, is it? We've beaten Villa as well on the first day of the season. Remember Sanchez getting that goal on his debut. I don't think it's that bad of a start at all. No, I think you look at that and you can see where the points should be collected. So I'm not too fussed at all. It's just all about the Sunderland games, isn't it? Let me know in the comments your thoughts. Is there a particular game you're looking forward to? Obviously, we always look at the Christmas run-in and, Sunderland, Chelsea, Man United, Burnley, and that is one that is going to definitely test you. Then you chuck in as well, like I say, that Champions League game on the 9th or 10th of December. I mean, Burnley, how have Newcastle United ended up with 2 away games over the Christmas period? Surely that cannot be right. I don't think that's probably ever happened, has it? I'll have to look back at the history books. So Newcastle faced Chelsea at home on the 20th of December, Manchester United away on the 27th, and then Burnley away on the 30th. So usually you have one or the other, don't you? You have one home game on Boxing Day, and then if you're there, you probably play away on New Year's Day or the 30th. But here we've got 2 away games in a row. So a lot to travel for Newcastle United and the away fans who put their hard-earned money into following Newcastle. January, you've got 2 home games in a row, Crystal Palace, Leeds United to kick off the year, Wolves away, Villa at home on the 24th, and Liverpool away on the 31st. So they're going to be an interesting run of games. February, Brentford at home, Tottenham away, Man City away, Everton at home. I think what I look for, it isn't necessarily the teams they're playing, it's where they are playing. So I don't like to see Newcastle United have a successive run of games away from home, because obviously we know Newcastle and St James's Park is an absolute fortress. But there are some run of fixtures there where they do play successive away games. So Man City, Burnley, for example. You've got then, as I said, there Tottenham and City. But then it kind of balances out, doesn't it? Because then you do have Crystal Palace United at home and other home games in succession. So let me know in the comments what you're looking out for. Newcastle finished the season away to Fulham. People might remember Rafa Benitez's last game in charge. They won that game 4-1, if memory serves me correctly. Rondon on the score sheet. And then Rafa left later that month. So people might remember that game. But like I say, you've got to play everyone twice. I don't think there's too much to worry about looking at the start. I know Eric isn't very happy with it. And as Kenneth says here in the comments, there's no point in worrying about the start of the season. You've got to play everyone at some point. Kenneth, mate, you're spot on with that. YI Man says, first 6 games, solid, Andrew. We couldn't have got a much harder start. I mean, are they? Am I missing something here also? This is Newcastle United under Eddie Howe. This is one of the best sides in the Premier League. Why should we fear anybody? First 6 games, Villa, Liverpool, Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, Arsenal. I don't think that's too daunting. I mean, Newcastle have beaten Villa, Liverpool, Wolves, and Arsenal last season. Okay, Bournemouth always now seems to be a tricky tie, but they're essentially or potentially going to lose another star player on top of losing Howson. So they're not going to be the same team as last season. I can't get worried looking at those first 6 fixtures. I can't get worried looking at any of the fixtures, to be honest. Newcastle United just need to beat what's in front of them. They've proven that they can beat any team that steps in front of them. It's all about what Newcastle United do. And as Kenneth says, there's no point worrying about the start. You just get on with it, innit? Get on with it. I mean, if you think those first 6 fixtures are a little bit daunting, imagine how good you're going to feel when they come out with, potentially, I don't know, 10, 12 points out of those fixtures. So just get on with it, is how I look at it. Get on with it. YI Man says, Villa, who beat us all the time at Villa. Yes, but records are there to be broken. Remember going down to Manchester United last season or Tottenham, and we had horrible records. I remember going down to Wembley, and we hadn't scored since 1955 at Wembley in a final. So there we go. Records are there to be broken. History is there to be ripped up and rewritten. And this is Newcastle United, who, by the way, I genuinely think with a few big name signings over the next couple of months could really mount a surprise Premier League title challenge. I know people laugh at me when I say that, but I genuinely think if everyone stays fit, everyone is on form, they don't lose any stars, and they add 2 or 3 quality players, and I mean, top level quality players, surprising a few people this season isn't out of the question, but certainly at the very least, you go into any game absolutely positive and optimistic that Newcastle United can beat anyone, and that heightened by the fact that you go out and sign a top right winger, a centre forward, a right-sided centre back, and it's going to be an expensive outlay. But look, I'm already confident. Get these players through the door. My confidence goes even higher. I'm not fearful of that start, not at all. Kev says it's the best time to play Liverpool, in his opinion. Yeah, you can say that. Again, I don't really have an opinion on it because you have to play everyone at some point. But I get the point Kev's making there, because actually, you play Villa, you play Liverpool, it's probably a better time to play these sort of sides in the opening couple of months because the momentum's not there. Now, of course, that's assuming Newcastle start the season well. But if you play Liverpool, say, in November or December when they've really got going, it's going to be a harder fixture. So it's all about trying to, I suppose, take advantage of the teams who take a little while to get going. But then you could argue Newcastle United do as well. They didn't really start get going until December of last season. Of course, they picked up a lot of points without playing well. Then they started playing better, but then they started dropping more points. And we all remember Newcastle, after defeat to Brentford, were 12th in the Premier League. Eddie Howe switches Sandro Tonali into the number 6, and then it just works. It just clicks, and Newcastle go on that amazing run of winning 9 games in all competitions, and massive reason to why they ended up finishing 5th and qualifying for the Champions League. I think if Eddie Howe can just find the formula to start a little bit better, to find I don't know what the right word is, just to find that formula where they play well and pick up points, then Newcastle United could potentially have a very good end to 2025. But again, it's all ifs, it's all buts. There's so many variables when we talk about it. And it's really just a big guessing game. We've got YI Man saying, I was pleased we got Sunderland in December, so we will be in the groove when we play them. And that's a good point. A few months of the season have gone, and you would hope that Newcastle United have really got the wind behind them in their sails, and they can go into that game in good spirits. But again, I go back to the fact that in a derby game, none of that really matters. It's about who turns up on the day. It's about feeling it in the morning before kickoff, and really form goes out of the window in many ways. I mean, it helps, of course it does, but a derby game, you can rip up all the rules and all the form books in the world because it's just a totally different fixtures. It's a totally different clash. Nothing really helps in that game other than just pure desire and want to beat your rivals. But yes, I understand the point where man's making there. It'll be good to have a bit of momentum behind Newcastle heading into Sunderland away on the 13th of December. And again, a good start of the Premier League, good start in the Champions League. It all ties in, and it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Newcastle handle the schedule. Fingers crossed for some signings. João Pedro, Anthony Elanga, Mark Gay, potentially. They would be really good additions to this squad and would help Newcastle United have a good campaign. I'm just going to quickly look when the Carabao Cup clashes are, because that's also going to add, of course, to Newcastle United's schedule. Now, of course, Newcastle United do get a bye because they won the League Cup, so they get to start at a later round. So round 3 is split, but Newcastle United going to round 4 potentially. Just gonna have a quick little look. Definitely get a buy-in anyway into one of the rounds. But anyway, looking at it, round 4 is the 27th of October, so just before match day 2 of the Champions League. Round 5 would be the 15th of December, so that would come in a really busy week for Newcastle United. You would have a match day in the Champions League, the Townway Derby, and then round 5. And then the first leg of the semi-final would be on the 12th of January, and the semi-final second leg would be on the 2nd of February. So, it potentially could be a very busy few months for Newcastle, but that's what you want. This is what the top teams want. You want to have these busy months because it means you're being successful. Imagine Newcastle United heading into a semi-final in the second week of February, going well in the Champions League, going well in the league, and through the next round in the FA Cup as well. That is, the definition of a good side. And yes, the top sides at the moment, like Man City or like your Arsenals, can rotate. Newcastle can't quite do that because they haven't got that underbelly that those top clubs have. But in time, they will do. Hopefully, this summer helps Eddie Howe build that squad where you can rotate, but still have it full of players who can do the jobs. But I have to say, there's no point, turning your nose up at a potentially busy November and December if Newcastle United are going strong in 3 competitions, because that is exactly what you want as a fan. We've got to kind of face in usual Manchester United Christmas bias. Yeah, well, no surprise there. Thomas says, "Away the lads." Let me know in the comments then. Is there a month you're particularly looking forward to? Is there a month you're particularly fearing? You're looking forward to those derby games. Let me know if you've got any thoughts on the fixture release that have come out today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you to Saley for sponsoring the podcast. You know where to go if you want your eSIM for your holiday abroad. Stay connected and support the podcast. Hit the link in the podcast description box to get a very special discounted offer. And just to finish off, we've got Ian saying, "I think it's a canny run in on paper." So there you go. Wonderful, positive comment to finish the show off. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys very soon.